Yes, so good morning to you. And this is your host for today's webinar, and my name is Suchitra Chaudhary. On behalf of PMI North India chapter, I welcome you all to yet another session full of insights, full of knowledge, and I hope you have a lot of takeaways from this session. Before we start, there are just want to apprise you all, about ways of working for this session. One is please keep your mic on mute at all times. Yes, and Q&A will be taken up towards the end of the session. But if you have any questions or comments that are during the session also, please use the chat section to share them. Okay, and the session is being recorded and it will be put on YouTube once we are through with the session and everything. And at the end of the session, I will be sharing a feedback survey link with you all. Okay, so once you fill the survey and click submit, the PDU claim code will flash on your screen, and with that you will be able to apply for PDU. I hope we I hope this is clear to all. Okay, so with that, let's start with today's webinar. And so, as you all know, the topic of the webinar is pretty intriguing and pretty apt, appropriate to whatever is happening around us in today's time, which is how to integrate the cybersecurity into the project management, right? And this session will be delivered by Vandana Nagpal. Vandana, on behalf of PMI North India chapter, I welcome you and I thank you for taking your time out to deliver this session for us. Just a small intro. I know the years of experience that Vandana holds. This 1 minute intro will not do any justice. But then Vandana is a director, security architecture in Kyndryl, India. She is the leader with extensive experience in security architecture, governance, enterprise resilience, and Vandana also leads strategic cybersecurity frameworks for mission critical and digital transformation initiatives. Vandana is a trusted advisor to senior leadership on risk management, regulatory alignment, and operational readiness. She is the mentor, coach, and advocate for building future-ready cybersecurity talent. With that, I open the floor to you, Vandana. Over
Thank
to you.
you. Thank you, Suchitra. Thanks so much for such a warm welcome. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see my screen. We are here to discuss about secure by design, integrating cybersecurity into project management so as to achieve a very successful delivery. So here we are going to talk about how to integrate cybersecurity into the into the project management lifecycle and right from inception to the completion. So I 1 second, let me go to the presentation mode. We are going to discuss about how we do planning, execution, check, and then take the necessary actions. We will talk about not only in terms of how to embed cybersecurity into project phases, which is a part of the planning exercise, but we'll also be talking about the risk assessment. Then we will be talking about cross-functional collaboration and incorporating cybersecurity into the execution phase so that we can identify the potential solutions and monitoring and control in terms of the check, the guardrails that we need to build in place, and then also ensure that it's because as we know that plan do check act is a continuous cycle. We need to ensure that we have a security aware project team and we are able to leverage automation and document the security processes and continuously improve. Right. So it's very well aligned to the PDCA cycle from that perspective. Now, why do we need cybersecurity? So in today's world where we are into geopolitical situations, we have the war happening in so many countries, we need to safeguard our information because the information is very critical. I'm not sure if you already know that when the war started with Iran, at that particular point of time, Israel had hacked into into a Iranian prayer calendar, application which was here, which was called the Bade Sabha, and it was used as a weapon. So even the information which is there today is used more like a weapon. So they hacked into the application, but they remained silent till the time they decided that, okay, on this date, we need to start the attack. And at just an hour before the attack, they started using that app to urge the Iranian military defense personnel in terms of defecting from the regime and join the efforts to liberate the country. And mind you, there were 5 million downloads of this application via Google Play Store. So you can imagine the network that they had. Now, how did they get to know about the location of Ayatollah Khomeini? So they did two things. They hacked into the traffic light, the traffic signals, right? So they hacked into that particular system so they can get, the particularly nearby to the Tehran's, traffic camera. So that's where they did that, so that they're able to track the location and the movement of the bodyguards, and then build a detailed intelligent picture. And besides that, they also hacked into the mobile network as well. Okay, so from that perspective, you can understand that how much is cybersecurity very important today, right? So also, because we have our computers, network, data, anything which is there on internet, anything which is connected to internet today, unless and until your device is just a standalone, it is susceptible to being hacked. Now, there are two types of hacking which happens. A hacking that we say and a fraud. How many of you know the difference between hacking and fraud? You can unmute yourself and share your inputs or thoughts. So there are no takers, I believe. So when you hack into the devices, when you hack into the technology, it is known as hacking. And when you hack into the human brain, right, it is called fraud. So when you hack into a device, you will hack into a network, name it anything, or into a server or a laptop or a mobile, it's all called hacking. Now, objectives of both hacking and fraud is to get money or to, maybe for personal reason, blackmail or anything. And then fraud is more when they get into the brain. So somebody calls you and say the digital arrest is a very clear example of a fraud. So they get, or say prize money you have got and share the bank details. It's all about fraud. So there are two things. Now here we are talking about safeguarding in terms of hacking. But your project, when you're incorporating cybersecurity, you also need to ensure that you take care of the fraud, because otherwise it's a battle half won, right? So from that perspective, the threat landscape we have already discussed about. Besides you being used in the wars today, cyberbullying, the misinformation campaigns, all that is a part of the threat landscape. And it is not only the organizations which at stake, it is also the individuals it is at stake. That is why from time to time we need to ensure that our devices are secure and protected, so that we are able to maintain the confidentiality of our data, which means that the data privacy, so it's private to us, it's confidential, it is not leaked. Integrity, which means it is always current, right? It is not an older version that we need to resort to. And then the availability of the data is very important, because needs to be available 24/7 today, right? Because that's where the business runs. Also, therefore, it is very important that we have very robust cybersecurity policies and practices in place and we implement them. Like in your daily life, you must be using strong passwords, maintaining, updated software, like even for your mobile or for your laptop. There are patch upgrades which are released from time to time. So you would be all using that as well, and not connecting to, say, a public network, or particularly not for financial transactions or accessing your banking applications. So all those are, I will say, cyber safety measures that we need to adopt, right? Now, how do we do that so that we do not fall prey to the threats or cyber frauds? Now, how do we do that? Now, we need to include that as a part of our project management. And we have seen that even on day one, we need to safeguard. The moment your application goes live, the moment your server goes live, you need to ensure that from that very moment, it is safe, it is secure, it is not hacked into. And to ensure that it happens like that, you need to start incorporating and thinking about cybersecurity right when you start onto the project management from day one, right? You need to have a proactive approach and you have to think of the worst which can happen so that you are able to plan for those worst conditions, God forbid, right? But you need to have an action plan. You need to have a plan project in place to ensure that the worst situations can also be catered to. Okay. Also, it is important that because the hackers are always thinking ahead, right? Today, it is the traffic lights, the cameras, or the mobile networks which have been hacked into. The time is not very far when the next version of the war will be fought with robots. Okay. And in that particular scenario, our robots also need to be cyber secured and cyber safe, right? I'm not sure some of you may have seen the videos of the bias on related to on the Women's Day. You know, there were a lot of videos which are going around that why the robots are, more oriented towards look like a female. So, but that's the future, right? Where the next war may happen with the robots. Okay. Similarly, you need to ensure that what is the next step that can happen with respect to your project, whatever you are working on, and how do you need to build in the cybersecurity and safety perspective. So on that. Now, when you're talking about elevating your security from day one, what are the things that you need to take into picture? Okay. First of all, it is very important that you identify what is the periphery of, or what is the scope or the canvas of what you are trying to secure, right? What are the goals that you have? What are the security goals that you have? Like you have a quality policy for an organization. Likewise, you should have a security goal for your project. So what is it that I need to achieve? What are the various vulnerabilities which could happen in this particular scenario? And that is what I need to protect whatever the product or the services that I'm building, and ensure that I include that into the project right from the inception stage as well. So therefore, there is a need to conduct an early stage risk assessment, right? How will you know what you need to protect unless and until you haven't done a risk assessment? So therefore, risk assessment becomes of utmost importance. And therefore, because only when you have done a risk assessment, you will be able to contemplate, discuss, brainstorm, and weave an effective mitigation strategies into your project plan, right? So because now you know what are your potential security threats, so you will be able to plan them better. Also, it is very important that at this stage, what are the regulatory requirements that you need to adhere to, whether it is HIPAA, PCI DSS, or DPDP Act. So you need to be very clear in terms of the regulatory aspects that also need to be considered so that you are able to build them in here. Because now most of these regulatory requirements also have component which is related to cybersecurity or an interpretation for cybersecurity as well. So you need to ensure that, right? Now, when you have identified, the potential security threats, and you are thinking about the mitigation strategy, you also need to ensure that your mitigation strategy on the project plan, they very well align with the organizational policies as well. So, because you cannot ignore the organizational mandate. And at times, it is fairly possible that the organizational policies themselves may need to be revised. So therefore, you need to take that also into hand in hand, because when you put it into organizational policy, the implementation of those policies become very easy, right? Because that's an organizational mandate. So for example, the organization policy may say that there is an education or a training that each one in the organization needs to go through at least once a year, right? Or once in 6 months, whatever, right? The policy is that ensures that the education bit is taken very well care of. And now, what will that education contain? Is something probably where you can give an input. Probably there is a risk assessment is throwing up some particular aspect which is not included in the education coursework as of today, but should be there, because that is where the trends are changing in the industry. The hackers, what are they recently coming up with? We will discuss that, one of the hacking which happened just 4 days ago. So there are some things like encryption, access control, and regular security audits, which are usually there as a part of the organizational policies. And you should definitely include them in your project plan in terms of implementing those aspects, right? Because they not only make your project or your outcomes much more resilient, but they also help to reduce costs. So if you start on these aspects earlier during the game, the costs are going to be pretty less than what it would be if you will go thereafter. So therefore, the cost is reduced, the security is enhanced, and also it leads to successful security audits. Okay. Now, coming to the fact that we need to do the regular risk assessment. Why do we need to do regular risk assessment, right? And when I'm saying regular, so one, we are doing at the inception phase, but that's not it, right? We need to do it at a regular frequency, because the cyber, the malwares, the vulnerabilities, that landscape is also changing, right? It's changing every day. So you need to define a frequency at which the regular risk assessments need to be done, right? So from that perspective, uh, you need to, because once you know what the vulnerabilities are, you will be able to prioritize the security measure. So what is the impact? What is the likelihood of that vulnerability occurring and impacting our business, right? You would know, you need to discuss that. And once you have discussed that, right, you need to come up with the plan in terms of how to contain, right? How to address those aspects. So for example, at some of the techniques which is used is like the phishing scam, right? So phishing is a very easy thing to do, and also very easy to contain as well, because there are softwares which are already available which help to contain the phishing. Also, at the same point of time, a phishing simulation exercise is undertaken by organizations from time to time, right? Because it is like on the job learning. Okay. So from that perspective, look at what you need to build in, what is easy to implement and most effective mechanism, right? So based on that, you need to identify your security measures. Now, coming to the strategy in terms of once you have identified the various risks which exist. Now, what is the strategy that you are going to approach you are going to take in terms of catering to those risks? It could be risk avoidance, risk reduction, transfer, acceptance, and sharing, which you all very well know how it can be done. But the final choice would ideally depend on the risk profile, the risk capacity of the organization, I would say, and then the business objectives, what we are trying to achieve, what is more important to us, how much we are willing to spend, budget, many other things could be related here, right? So based on that, you need to identify, have a brainstorming session, involve the senior leadership, and ensure that you have a very good risk management plan in place. There can be various, as we discussed, employee training, the multi-factor authentication. These are some of the defenses which could be deployed, or a phishing simulation. So all these aspects are there. Now, coming to the fact that we have effective risk, we need to identify the resources that would be required towards managing the risks. So what are the tools? Because at times it is also the tools. It's not only the training, but it is the tools. And tools is a very big investment, right? Because the licenses come at a cost. The deployment, there's a deployment cycle which needs to be go through, which again require manpower, and then the regular maintenance, right? And it's maybe a yearly license, so it needs to be renewed, like your certification, and then so forth. So there are costs which are involved, but then that's a cost, that's a conscious decision that the organization has taken to do that, because tools helps us in many ways, which we will see later on, right? So, so therefore, you need to have a proactive approach to vulnerabilities. These are the three key takeaways from this slide. And then the risk response should be based on the risk assessment, and we need to allocate the resources very effectively, right? So, so to incorporate the security into the planning phase, we need to develop a cybersecurity plan, very clearly talking about the roles and the responsibilities, what are the tasks to be performed, by what timelines they need to be there, what are the checkpoints, what are the metrics and measurement mechanism, and God forbid, if a cybersecurity incident does happen, then what is going to be the incident response? Now, most of the time, people forget about the incident response because that is not something that they had contemplated about, because it hasn't happened today, but it can happen, right? So therefore, the incident response mechanism, that particular process is of key importance, because it would require, and which we will talk later as well, it will require a lot of stakeholders, right? So because if a server goes down, God forbid, then the server team needs to be there, the network team needs to be involved to bring it back to the network, and so on and so forth, right? So there will be many involved. And of course, need to communicate to the customer, need to communicate to the leadership, blah, 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 right? So many things will happen. Also allocate the budget and the resources. We talked about the tool licenses, but then we also need to talk about the team members who would be required and the expenses on the training. Now, those training could be related to cybersecurity, could be related to those tools as well, right? So there could be many kind of training which could be involved here. Scheduling the cybersecurity awareness training, because that is the key, and threat modeling to identify the risks that could arise. So because we need to create a strategy to mitigate those risks. The most important thing, likewise, you have for a quality, for quality plan, or a project plan, you have a project manager. For a cybersecurity plan, there needs to be a custodian. Somebody needs to take the ownership of that cybersecurity plan. Whether it is going to be the project manager, is it going to be the CISO, or is it going to be anybody else? Irrespective, a custodian needs to be there so that there is a proper governance, there is an implementation which happens for that particular plan. So therefore, please ensure that there is a detailed map, the necessary resources are available, and we have a risk mitigation strategy or a plan in place. By the end, we call the planning phase as a close. Okay. Now, time for some quiz. And I want people to respond. Suchitra, as I'm not able to view the chat, people who respond on chat, if you can let me know the responses, that would be great. So the first question is, what is the primary objective of selecting a cybersecurity automation tool? Sorry. What? Yeah. So
I
it is to
think
replace.
participants, yeah, so participants who are there, they can unmute as well, and then, collaboratively participate in this quiz.
Yeah, that would be the most apt thing. So is it to replace all security professionals, improve
Yeah.
security operations efficiency and response time, reduce network bandwidth usage, eliminate cybersecurity risk entirely, or all of the above? So what do you think is the best?
Vandana.
Yeah, that's correct. So it's improving security operations efficiency and response time. Because time is a key factor when it comes to a cybersecurity. We are running against the time. We are running against the hackers. We don't want the hackers to be ahead of us. We want to be ahead. So time is the most important thing, and so is the operational efficiency. Okay. The next one is, why is vendor support and product maturity important when selecting cybersecurity automation tools? Is it to determine the tool font style? It is to ensure long-term reliability updates and security patches. It is to reduce the internet usage, or is it to simplify the user login, or none of the above?
Can it be to ensure long-term
Yes,
reliability,
it is
update, and
B.
security patches?
Yes. So we want that the tool that we invest money in, it is a long term reliability is there. It's not that the company is going to wind up in 2 days and then we are left having spent all the money and included it as a part of our plan. Also, it is important that they provide the regular updates and patches, which means that you can look at the history when you're selecting the tool. You can look at the history, how frequently have they been providing the the security patches and the updates, because if they are doing it on a frequently basis, it ensures that the recent one, they are addressing the vulnerabilities as they are coming. Right. So if some tool hasn't done it for the last 6 months, I wouldn't buy that product for sure. Right. And it's not only about that, it is also about the PMR response time, right? So we know usually we log a ticket if we run into issues, how soon are they able to resolve our tickets, right? Is also very important, because as I said earlier, the time is the key, right? So please ensure that as well when you're selecting your automation tools. So moving ahead. So these are some of the key selection criteria that we usually look at when we are selecting an automation tool. One is like integration and interoperability, how they integrate with the rest of the applications we want them to talk to, the automation capabilities and the playbooks, which is of course the crux, the scalability. So today I have 1,000 people in my 1,000 endpoints in my environment, and I know there are going to be another 500 people who are going to join in. So another 500 endpoints would get added. So is it scalable? Will it be able to address? Can I add the licenses easily? Etc., etc. The threat intelligence integration, data protection, reporting analytics. Now, today, in most of the tools, they come with their AI reporting and stuff like that, which again is very important. The vendor maturity, which we just spoke about, and the compliance management. So it also, for example, if your project is to comply to say HIPAA or SOC or any other requirement, regulatory requirement, whether the tool is also capable, is also complying to the same set of standards or regulatory requirements, is also very important. So please do not forego that, because otherwise it will lead to a exposure there. Now we have done the plan. Now we are coming to in terms of what is it that we need to do in terms of doing and taking the necessary action. So we are talking about team collaboration. Now it is very important that we need to identify, because when there is a potential risk, we need to ensure that what all teams would be involved. So cybersecurity is not very simple, right? It is like a human body as well, I would say. So you have many facets of the human body, if you want to go to a heart specialist, or you want to go to a lung specialist. Likewise, in case of cybersecurity, you can have somebody who's a vulnerability assessment specialist, somebody who is a security operations center specialist, and somebody is an antivirus specialist, and so forth, right? So likewise, there are specializations within cybersecurity as well. So which are the teams which are going to be involved there, and how they are going to collaborate with the project management is also equally important, because it will depend on your strategic goals that we discussed about, and also with the objective of improving the overall quality and the reliability of the product that we are trying to build in. Now, also it is important that we collaborate, because why collaborate? Because we reduce the and work on cybersecurity right there, so that we reduce the chances of encountering the major setbacks when we are launching the applications. So it helps us to deliver faster. It helps to overall improve the efficiency, and also it is ensuring that all the heads that need to be there, all the eyes, ears, heads, I would say, are there, and focusing on the product or whatever we are trying to build, and ensuring that it is cyber safe. Also, it is to say that the robustness, those aspects, how we need to make the product more robust in terms of cybersecurity is also equally important, because when you are developing a product, for example, so everybody will ask, that is the basic question nowadays asked, that how cyber safe it is. So if you get you are able to demonstrate that you have done the even the penetration testing for your tool, it would really be good. So don't only look at in terms of, so there are two aspects from cybersecurity perspective. One is the cybersecurity of the product that you are developing, product or service. And second is also the cybersecurity of the overall project, repository, which is there. So even that needs to be secure. So most of the time people don't think about where they have kept the project plan, blah, 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 whether that place is, all those documents, whether they are secured or not. Even those need to be very much secure. And it is very important that we collaborate. We should not say, oh, there are three more people involved, and why should I be thinking about it? Let the other three think about it. That's not the way it is going. So therefore, it is very important that you identify the RACI metrics very clearly in terms of the project itself, right? So that everybody has a role to play and everybody is contributing to it. Okay. So it's important team collaboration, because it will help you to avoid rework during the later phases of the project. It will also reduce the efforts during the testing phase, and it will also make your product very robust. Okay. So from that perspective, this is where we are. Okay. Now we come to project execution and control. So coming to project execution and control, we need to, as we said, when we are designing, we need to ensure the secure design principles in terms of least privilege, robust data encryption, and the stringent authentication practices. So that is something that we need to do. Also, if you're developing something which has got a data protection, nowadays data privacy has also taken up, has come as a key thing, because the data privacy is particularly important if you are into HIPAA, right? And therefore, for healthcare projects, I'm saying here, it is important that you employ secure coding techniques along with a regular penetration testing to shield the sensitive patient information from the cyber threat. So that is something which is utmost important, that how you are protecting the data which is being captured by the tool is very important by the product. Also in Indian industry now, the DPDP Act is coming in. I think beginning 1st of April, it is going to be effective. And by November this year, they're going to analyze, and then the penalties run into crores of rupees, by the way. So there is a lot of, things which are coming in, because in today's world, given the whole geopolitical situation, the data set protection is also data sovereignty, data protection is being talked about today, right? So we need to be very cautious about those aspects as well. And then lastly is about, because at times we use third-party libraries, and those libraries can contain malware, right? So from that perspective, it is important that you are very cautious in terms of the external softwares that you are downloading, particularly from your mobile perspective, your personal mobile perspective. I will say that .apk files, please do not install them or download them unless and until you are very dead sure. Okay, so therefore it is important that whatever are the third party components that you are using in your product, they are also very robust. They should not have any vulnerability, right? So even those need to be tested very thoroughly, so that you are able to contain the aspects with respect to that. Okay. So coming now, so you need to ensure that these aspects are taken care of. So there is an enhanced monitoring and control, resilient system, and then the good NPS score. Now, backup and recovery. how come backup and recovery is very important today. The way we used to do backup and recovery drill exercises, I would say 10, 15 years ago versus how we do today are very, very different. Earlier, the companies used to say, okay, evacuation, campaign used to be there. Just clear out the building, see how much time does it take, for everybody to come out. That's the kind of BCP, exercise which used to happen. Or at times they would do a planned activity or a tabletop exercise. Okay, a terrorist attack has happened. How will we do take care of that? Who will do what? So all those discussions used to be happen more like a just a discussion, a 1 hour discussion, a brainstorming session. That's it, right? But today, the BCPs are there. It has to be there because you need to ensure that you have taken your backup, data backup on a tape or whatever, drives, etc. And then you are able to restore it. The restoration is very, very important. If you're not doing that and you're not building it as a part of your project plan, then you may be in for a very, very big surprise during tough situations. I'm not sure how many of you would have known about 4 days ago, there was a hacker attack which had done. It's not only Israel who's doing it, by the way. So Iran is also doing it. So there is a US-based medical technology giant called Stryker Corporation, where the Iran-linked hackers, they remotely wiped out all the personal and the work data from thousands of their employees' mobile devices, right? So, and those mobile devices was both iPhone and the Android. It's not that iPhone, though while we say, oh, it is very robust and so forth, but even from the iPhones, the data was totally wiped out. So they did not do much. They did something similar, which Israel has been doing. So they did not build any big mobile ransomware or something like that. But what they did was they compromised the high privileged admin credentials for Microsoft Intune. Now, Microsoft Intune is a mobile device management software which is used by most of the organizations. So they just, compromised the credentials, which means the password was hacked into. And then they triggered a legitimate remote wipe command. So even the security operations center would not be able to look at it because it's a legitimate. It's not an illegitimate. It's a legitimate one which has been there. So therefore, there will be no alert which will be coming in, right? And 200,000 devices in 79 countries, their data was wiped out. Even we have it, like we also have a workspace, right? So we also have our work data. So which means even our mobile devices, though we have a 10 or a 12, alphabet password, a fingerprint, everything. But then behind what is happening. So as I said, there was a total network shutdown which happened. So therefore, please don't think that it can happen only to the organizational data. It can also happen to your mobiles. It can happen irrespective of how, safety measures you are taking for your mobile. But still, some things can definitely go wrong if they are inclined to, right? So moving ahead, in the best interest of time, I know we are short of time, but let me quickly address the rest before we throw it open for question and answers. So we need to ensure that we are continuously monitoring and reviewing our security measures. So audits and assessments are one. I missed to add here the risk assessment, but read it as risk assessment, vulnerability assessments, the intrusion detection systems, whether they are detecting correctly or not. The disaster recovery, the incident response drills, as I said, are very important, and the patch management. Also, we need to ensure that we are meeting the regulatory requirements from the sensitive data protection perspective, so protocols. So therefore, we need to gauge the effectiveness of the measures. Are they really doing that, or do we need to change the process? So, and we need to identify the issues early on and also enhance the security and the regulatory compliance, right? So coming on to next is about the disposal or the decommission of the end of life devices or the products. Now, this is something which is overlooked many times, right? Like we sell out our old mobile phone, right? Or our laptops. So we need to ensure that we have removed all the data. We have done a there is a data sanitization plan in place in terms of, when we are decommissioning the devices. If we need to archive the data, so because we need to retain the data because we want to showcase that for any audits or something, then definitely that is something which we need to do. And then remove the user access. The licenses are also revoked so that we are not consuming a license for a decommissioned device and decommission the cloud services because at times we are using the cloud services, and the end of life security assessment. So these are some of the things which need to be done. And this helps to prevent the misuse of the data and compliance without compromising the security and avoiding the legal implications. So these are some of the things which need to be done. Now, documenting is also very important. How the risk assessment will be performed on a regular basis, how the audits would happen, the incident process. When you are going through a drill, incident response drill, there are certain changes to the process which needs to be undertaken. So how those will be, so there needs to be regular updates to the document as well. Then we need to train the project team on the security awareness, which we already discussed about, so that the moment they see an incident happening, the moment they see a potential threat, they are able to raise their voice, right? So this is something that we need to do. Now, there are some of the things that we need to take care from the using the automated tools. So automated tools are important today because they reduce the manual intervention. Nobody can, monitor your network 24 bar 7, right? It is very impractical. So therefore, you have to depend on tools, but you need to ensure that there is a standard enforcement which happens so that it doesn't happen that in one country you are deploying it in a different way, in another country you are deploying it in another way. So it shouldn't happen that. So these tools helps you to enhance the security, right? So that is where we are. Coming to a conclusion, so what do you need to take care of? You need to ensure that you are taking care of security right from the start, from day one, right? It is with respect to your the scope, or whether it is with respect to your security goals, identifying what is the sensitive data, what are the assets again which you need to protect against the potential threats. Then creating a seamless workflow. Unless and until all the parties are involved, there is a collaboration between all the teams, it's not going to work well. The execution is not going to be smooth. The controls will reflect that there are gaps which are there, right? So therefore, it is important to have a seamless collaboration and then build a resilient framework. So once you know how it is going to be a continuous cycle, so that is very important. It's not once done and forgotten. No, it's not that way. It is a continuous exercise, a continuous conscious effort that needs to go in here. So therefore, you need to build security from ground up. You need to integrate the resilience into every project, right? Just moving ahead, this is just a brief about myself. I'm already a PMP certified as well as an agile practitioner, CSIM, C-Risk and CompTIA, Security Plus and AI as well. And I'm a coach and a mentor. And I just wanted to share my contact. So in case you need to reach out for any questions and queries even after this, you can do that. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a WhatsApp cybersecurity project managers channel, which you can subscribe to. You can take a pic or you can scan. And with that, I would like it to hand it over back to Suchitra to share if there are any questions which have come in the chat, or any other way that you want to pick up onto the question and answers.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Now, every QR code that I see, I think about what you mentioned in the session, that QR code contains .apk files. So, I mean that's something being a functional background, I was not aware about that. So, yeah, I think that's a takeaway for me. But yes, I think it had been a session full of knowledge in terms of how security is so important for our projects. Uh, and there are no specific questions in the chat, but then I have one question, Vandana.
Sure.
Like I mean, if you, because since you have a vast experience in security, and let's say 5 years back, how the security framework was and how the trends in security were, do you think in today's date, what are the changes that have come uh, in terms of tools or, like some more certifications maybe that have been added, or the way, even the RACI matrix, like you said that there has to be, custodians, security
Yeah,
custodians, right?
yeah.
So, your thoughts on that? I mean, what
Yeah,
is the
so
change?
so so there is a lot of change which has come in. Earlier, the cybersecurity usually meant install antivirus onto your laptops, and things like that. It's only in the recent, I think, 4 years or 3 years that the security operations center by themselves have taken a lot of focus. Okay, because earlier the companies, so there are security operations center, which means that you have a 24/7 somebody looking at your network, looking at your devices, looking at the tools. So earlier the tools were not there. Now you look at it, the Microsoft themselves have a tool, a suite of tools, I would say. So they have XDR and so many other tools that they have. So and also the tools have enhanced each of the organizations, like Palo Alto has for network, Microsoft has for endpoint. So there are many such tools which are now available in the market. And also the maturity of these tools have enhanced over the last couple of years, primarily because of AI. So a lot of these tools use AI to detect the threats, right? So and give out alerts. So that also has enhanced, as well as the reporting. So the reporting has also enhanced because of AI. So that is on the tools part. So tools have undergone a lot of change, and they are going, even today, every time there are more enhancements which are coming in. So also, with respect to the tools, this is there. With respect to the fact that awareness which is coming in amongst all of us is also enhancing, because there is so much of focus on training nowadays. If you have to go through particular educations, I would say there is a certificate in cybersecurity that's a very basic and a free of cost, which is available by ISC2. So certificate in cybersecurity is what it is called. CompTIA Security Plus is also good, but it is more technical. So if you are on the technical side and want to gain some knowledge in terms of cybersecurity, then I would suggest that as well. Also, with respect to uh, I would there was something else that you asked for, forgetting. So
The
yeah,
custodians, like there
the
is
custodians,
RACI, like
yes,
yes.
the RACI, yeah. So in terms of the RACI, earlier it was more or less limited to the cybersecurity team. Okay, if there's a cybersecurity team in place, they will do everything. It is not like that. Like earlier, you had quality, right? Quality team, QMS, and all that kind of stuff. It's the same way. Everyone has a role to play in cybersecurity. It's a chain. If somebody breaks the chain, it is totally, anybody can creep in, right? So if antivirus is not, the latest patches are not involved, say on even one device, right? It's an exposure. So from that perspective, it is very important that everybody does that. Everybody has a role to play. The races are improving. It's not only us. It is, if you are doing it for a customer, the customer, employees also have a role to play. So it's not only that we are training our people, we are also training, the employees of our customers as well. So that also is something which needs to be there. So from that perspective, it is important to look at that. Okay. So I see more questions coming in.
Sure, yes. So I think there is a question from Sandana Mulai,
Mm.
and they said recently reading about IAM with the machines or containers growing now, what are the security concerns or managing them are expected?
So containers, of course, they can be corrupted. So from that perspective, that the data can be erased. So from that perspective, it is important to have a backup of your containers, or their configuration may undergo a change. It may be, so configuration issues can come up, which may corrupt them. So all those things is what we see out there. And cloud, of course, has made it very easy. When till the time it is on-prem, your infrastructure is on-prem and not on cloud, it is still more secure, than unless, because they will only be able to go to the on-prem when the network periphery is breached, right? But in case of cloud, it because sometimes you are not managing the cloud, right? So from that perspective, it is there. And mind you, that reminds me a very important aspect in today's with this whole war. So AWS had, I think, 2 or 3 data centers which are there in that area. And because of the impact to them, the services were brought down. So that's why the backup and a DR site are equally important. And it is important to have them in different regions. That's the whole objective. Don't say, okay, I have one DR site in Delhi and another in Bangalore. It's not going to work that way, right? So you need to take things into perspective as well from the current situations.
Yes, Ankit has raised his hand, but I would just take 1 minute. There is a question from Puneet on the chat, Vandana, and what he says is, I'm working in digital transformation. While working on AI projects, clients are reluctant to give go-ahead on Gen AI, agentic AI projects due to data security. What is your view on such scenario? Will this perception will improve in coming time once more robust laws around the world will come in effect, like DP in India?
So there are two things here. So, and again, it's a very different topic that me and Suchitra have discussed it as well. So about security in AI and AI for security. So these are a topic which probably we can discuss some other day. But just to address your question, Puneet, in terms of the AI models themselves, they are susceptible to two things. One is the bias, and second is they can also contain ransomware. So that is why they are very reluctant. Clients are very reluctant from the not only the data security, but data privacy perspective as well. Okay. And you saw it with the whole AI summit which happened. There was so much talk about the ethics in AI, but then there can be biases. Also, in due course of time, yes, there will be more tools which will be catering to them. They will do come up, but I'm not sure about the laws, particularly in India, because so far in India we haven't seen so much teeth being given to such laws in India. Even the implementation itself is not very clear. And even after they get implemented, how much teeth they would be given, it's not well known there. On the other hand, the HIPAA or PCI DSS, those are still very robust in terms of the teeth, I would say, because then you lose the certification and the things in terms of that. So yes, it will improve, but it will take some bit more time.
Sure. Yes, Ankit, go ahead. Uh,
Yeah,
you have a question.
yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, so I have a one question. Like I would like to understand with my limited knowledge, Vandana. Like nowadays, AI is taking a front seat in most of the job in the every sector, right? So how much is this project management is a like future proof, like whether it is secure in the era of this AI?
Of course, it's secure proof because most of these I would say most of these tools which are there would also need a project plan, right? Most of these AI products which are being developed would need a project plan. So likewise, they said it's not only why I'm not sure why you're only asking for project managers. It can be applicable across, various industries, various employment, levels, but it cannot replace human for sure. You need somebody to run the AI as well. It goes
Mhm.
like that. Hope that addresses your question.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So none of the jobs are going to go away. In fact, AI is to help us to improve our quality of service. It is to make things more robust, make it more easier, right? Of course, in due course of time, probably the next generation may see it. So if you see the calculators when they came in, now people are so used to calculators, they can't even do mental maths. right?
Correct.
So that's what it's being said, that chat GPT, you will forget how to write an email, right? So it is
Mm.
depends on how you keep yourself active and continue to do what you want to do. Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so there is a question from Shiva, and he says in modern delivery, organizations rely majorly on vendors and external service providers, where we are seeing a growing security risk. What controls do you think organizations should adapt to efficiently tackle such supply chain level risk?
So yes, in terms of the vendor management, and the external service providers, usually they are given very limited privileges. So they are not given privileges, even to the extent, I know at least a couple of years ago, even the education for them was there was used to be a separate version for them because they had a limited role to play. So it depends on the organizational policies, how much level of access. So of course, given the fact that what we are saying today, the admin level privileges should never ever be given to the vendors or the external service providers. So very bare minimum least privilege model is what should be adopted here. That is the first thing which is there. Of course, the risk are the security risks continue to be the same as they were. So there is no growing security risk, but the security risks are more because there is no like usually the organizations do a background check for their employees, but they don't do something similar for the vendors or the external service providers, which may come into picture here on, right? So from those are the kind of controls which could be put in place. And of course, the least privilege model, the role-based access control, all those things would also come into the picture now and more stringently, right?
Yes, I think
Hope
role
Shiva.
based. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Suchitra.
Yeah, I think role-based access is there, it should be there for the team as well. Like there are teams, there are roles who do not need to have full rights to the tools. It can only be view, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, and Vandana, would you like to recommend some books on cybersecurity and security in general that can read?
I do not recall immediately because usually it is important to go through what are the incidents which are happening. Instead of books, I would say go by the real, keep on reading the news. So I will share with Suchitra in terms of some of the links that you can keep on referring to as a part of the industry where most of these things are there. So you can go and look at those aspects. So there are bulletins which are released from time to time. So those vulnerabilities need to be looked at. That's one. So there are bulletins for vulnerabilities which are released. Second is the news. Look at what are the kinds. So it is learning from other people's mistakes, right? That's what we need to do. So those are the things because the books will become outdated. The world is changing so fast in case of cybersecurity that books are irrelevant today, right? But it is the real life situations which you need to keep abreast with. So keep abreast with the vulnerabilities, keep abreast with the incidents and how they have been taken care of. So those are the things that you need to take into consideration.
Sure, Vandana. Thank you so much. And to all our participants, I have shared the feedback survey link. You please click on that, share your feedback, and then claim the PDO code that will appear. With that, Vandana, I'll just quickly share my screen for a quick 1 minute.
And folks, if you have anything, please subscribe to the WhatsApp channel. We can keep, our conversations and our queries and so forth onto the channel. So happy to be there.
Yes. Vandana, this is on behalf of PMI North India chapter. I again want to formally thank you and a sincere gratitude. So PMI North India chapter will be planting a tree on your behalf in the honor of the time that you have given to us for today by bringing in so much knowledge and insights into this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Suchitra, for this humble gesture. This particular topic in terms of environmental issues are very close to my heart. So this has really made my day. Thank you so much.
Sure. And thank you everyone for joining this session. Please do not forget to, click on the link to claim your PDU code. And in case there is anything, then you can reach out to Vandana or to me offline via LinkedIn. Thank you once again and have a great day. Thanks, Vandana.
Thank you, everyone.